Hello, my name is Royce. I'm here again with another video that's going to show off a power combo in the game of Heroclix. This is going to be exceptionally effective against ranged combat attacks. Let me go ahead and show you the characters involved in this video. What we're going to be focusing on is that deadly combination of Stealth and Combat Reflexes. Let me show you how these work. The first part of this combo we're going to go over is Stealth, which is indicated by a black box in the movement stat area. Now Stealth is also granted with the Batman team ability, which is represented by this Batman logo on the dial, and it's going to also be on the card. What happens with Stealth is that when a character using Stealth enters a printed area of hindering terrain on the map, which is represented by green, and what Stealth does is Stealth, when it's not your turn, it blocks any line of fire drawn to this character. So in this example, Grifter, who's usually pretty good with ranged combat attacks, will not be able to target Batman with a ranged combat attack. Another thing that Stealth blocks is going to be anything like Outwit, Perplex, or Probability Control. Even if you are adjacent to that character, you would not be able to use your Outwit unless you have a special ability that says otherwise, since Outwit requires a line of sight. Now, someone who doesn't require line of sight would be Rogue, because she has a special ability on her card that says she may use Outwit even if she's adjacent to the character. When it's your turn and you attack someone and they have line of sight to you to use probability control, they can make you prob that either way. Important things to remember about Stealth is that it's not only blocking lines of fire during ranged combat attacks. Somebody with telekinesis, like Gandalf has here on his dial, would not be able to target him with an object or something like that because it requires a ranged combat attack. And according to the official rule books of Heroclix, a ranged combat attack must have line of fire, so that would not be able to get used. Also, anything with the sharpshooter ability. This Grifter has a sharpshooter ability. Even if he was adjacent to Batman, he wouldn't be able to use a ranged combat attack because he still requires a line of fire. And with Batman being in Stealth and in hindering terrain, he's not going to be able to draw any lines of fire to him. So that's going to be gone. Now, mind control is kind of interesting. If it's mind control from range, it's obviously blocked because it requires a line of fire. But if you're adjacent to the character, you can still use mind control, which is going to be pretty powerful, as we're going to find out later in this video. And lastly, if you have any of these guys or any of the characters that can use grenades, you can technically throw a grenade to this target square, but you would not be able to make an attack roll against Batman since, once again, it is a ranged combat attack. Any ranged combat attack, if it's a special power and it says it's a ranged combat attack, it cannot be made because a ranged combat attack requires line of sight. Now, some other important things to keep in mind when it comes to Stealth and hindering terrain is that objects are considered hindering terrain. So if a character moves on top of an object, well, they have Stealth, then they'll be able to use their Stealth ability. Another thing, if you have a character that can use Smoke Cloud, and they put out some Smoke Cloud tiles, those are also considered hindering terrain, and they could be used for Stealth purposes. Now let's go over Combat Reflexes. Now Combat Reflexes, which is represented by a light green color on the defense stat, is going to do a couple of things. First of all, it's going to give them a +2 to their defense against close combat attacks. So if this Nightwing is targeted by a close combat attack, he's going to have a total of 19 defense. A couple other things that Combat Reflexes allows you to do is that if you take damage from an attack, you may choose to be knocked back. And this character also ignores knockback damage. Let's see how this works. So in this example, Nightwing using his Combat Reflexes is going to have a 19 defense against the Joker's close combat attack. Now the Joker has a high attack value of 10, which against a 17 gives him pretty good odds of making the hit. We'll now have to try to roll a 9 or better in order to get the hit. Now in this example, we can see Wolverine, who has Flurry, can make an attack against Nightwing, a close combat attack, and if he hits, Nightwing can choose to be knocked back. In other words, if Nightwing wants to reduce the chances of getting hit again from Flurry, he can be knocked back one and then have Wolverine not have the ability to make the attack of Flurry again. And finally, in this example, Blastar, who is a high attack of 11, is going to make a close combat attack against Nightwing, who has combat reflexes, which gives him a 19 defense. It's going to roll. So in this case, he needs an 8 or better. He gets a 6, 7, 8, 9, which is going to hit. But Blastar also has an ability on his card that says all damage deals knockback damage, or knockback. And so in this case, Nightwing's going to get knocked back 4 spaces because Blastar has a damage of 4. So he's going to go 1, 2, he hits the wall, and he's going to stop. Now usually a character that gets hit like this would take an additional damage because of knockback damage because he ran into a wall. But because of the bonuses that Combat Reflexes gives you, he's not going to take that additional damage. Well, by now you should be able to realize why Stealth and Combat Reflexes are so effective together. The combination of Stealth and Combat Reflexes forces the other player to play by your rules, forces the other player to come to you to make attacks, try to hit high defense values. And in cases of Flurry, if you do succeed on your first roll, well, they can just do the knockback and get away from you. So it's very frustrating to play against. It's not necessarily gonna let them make the hits when they need to, but it's certainly not helping your chances. Now, there are a couple of weaknesses in this combination. So let's go over a couple of these weaknesses and show you how you could beat a team of Stealth and Combat Reflexes. Now, the absolutely most effective way to get around Stealth is to use the Superman team ability, which is a Superman symbol printed on the character's base and on the character's card. The Superman team ability allows anyone using it to ignore hindering terrain for line of sight purposes. So this automatically cuts through any stealth the character to have. And since a lot of these characters with combat reflexes might have regular defenses of 16 or 17s, and Superman typically have high attack values, 11s, 10s, anything like that, well, you can cut right through a lot of these characters through their really good clicks in the beginning. Also, someone like Lois Lane, who has Perplex, would be able to use her Perplex on them. Also, on some characters, they also have the ability to ignore hindering terrain, and some have the ability to ignore stealth. So, read the character's card and find out what they're really good at. Another effective combination you can use is a character with Force Blast. In this case, we're talking about Cyclops. Force Blast is going to be the purple color on the movement stat. With Force Blast, all you do is you give the character with Force Blast a power action, and you roll a d6. And you're going to move that character, the target character, back that many spaces of knockback. So in this case, we're going to move her 1, 2, and if you still have action tokens, you may use another character to shoot at her. And now her defense becomes a 17 instead of the 19. Force Blast is especially good for this as well because it does not require an attack roll. Another effective power to have is Pulse Wave. Pulse Wave is indicated by a yellow square on the character's attack. Pulse Wave is going to ignore hindering terrain. So because it ignores hindering terrain, Batman would not be able to use his stealth nor his combat reflexes against a Pulse Wave attack. Characters with poison, at the start of your turn, you get to do 1 damage against everyone that's adjacent to this character. So in this case, if Joker decides to move up to Batman here, well, Batman better get out of dodge before he takes that click of poison damage. In this example, Voodoo has the ability to use Mind Control. Mind Control requires an attack roll, so you would have to try to get to that 19 defense, but if you hit it, he moves out into danger territory. So make sure you have high attack values when going against characters like this, or just use Superman characters because they're going to see right through that stealth anyway. Everybody like, subscribe for more Roar!